So, have you ever found yourself in that really common spot? You're working super hard, right? Putting in the hours, maybe you got a raise or two,
hmm
but you still feel like you're just, sort of treading water financially.
Yeah, or even worse, like you're stuck in that, what did Kiyosaki call it? The rat race?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Just running and running, but not really getting anywhere. So many people feel that.
They really do.
And then you look around and you see other people, and it seems like they're building wealth almost effortlessly, like they know something you don't.
It makes you wonder, what is the secret? What are they doing differently?
Right. What is fundamentally different?
And it's a huge question, especially because we're often taught, get good grades, find a safe job.
Yeah, work hard, climb the ladder.
Exactly. But Kiyosaki pointed out, even really smart people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, people who did great in school, they often struggle with money their whole lives.
It's a strange paradox, isn't it?
It is. And he argues it comes down to a big gap in, well, in what we learn, or rather what we don't learn in traditional schooling.
And that is exactly what we're going to dive into today. Welcome, everyone, to everything you need to know about finance. We're looking at it through the, let's say, transformative lens of Robert Kiyosaki's huge book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's definitely influential, yeah.
Now, just really quick before we jump in, we need to be super clear.
Yeah.
This deep dive, it's us exploring the ideas in the book, its perspectives. It is absolutely not financial advice.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just digging into a different way of thinking.
Right. It's about understanding the concepts.
And hey, speaking of digging into interesting stuff, if this kind of exploration is something you find valuable, please, take a second to like and subscribe. It helps us out.
Definitely. So our goal today, really, is to unpack what Kiyosaki says the rich teach their kids about money, things the poor and middle class might miss.
And how that difference can totally change your financial future.
Yeah. We've pulled stuff straight from the book, excerpts, and also looked at some related background info to give a full picture. Okay, so the core of this whole thing, what makes it stick, is his story about his two dads. It's quite a setup.
It really is. So on one hand, you have his actual father, his biological dad, who he calls his poor dad.
Right, the highly educated one, PhD, smart guy, secure job.
Super intelligent, but financially, always struggling. Despite the credentials, despite the secure government job.
And then the contrast, his best friend's dad, his rich dad,
Your rich dad.
who didn't even finish 8th grade,
Yeah.
but became one of the wealthiest guys in Hawaii.
That difference is just stark.
And their ideas about money were like night and day, total opposites. Imagine growing up hearing this back and forth.
That must have been confusing.
Totally. Like poor dad says, the love of money is the root of all evil.
A classic saying, right?
But then rich dad comes back with, no, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Whoa. Okay.
Or, poor dad, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. Standard advice.
Yep. Heard that one a million times.
Rich dad, study hard so you can find a good company to buy.
Buy,
Yeah.
not work for. Wow. Huge difference.
And it wasn't just jobs. Think about the house. Poor dad believed our home is our largest investment, our biggest asset.
Which is what most people think, right? It's the American dream idea.
Pretty much. But rich dad, he famously said, my house is a liability.
A liability. How?
He said, if your house is your largest investment, you're in trouble. Quite a statement.
Yeah, that's really counterintuitive. And what about risk?
Oh, totally different there too. Poor dad, play it safe with money, don't take risks.
Okay, sounds sensible on the surface.
Rich dad's view, learn to manage risk, not avoid it, manage it.
It's like these two completely different financial philosophies colliding right in front of him.
Exactly. And you can see how that kind of upbringing, hearing these clashing ideas constantly, it must have forced him to really think for himself, to question everything.
Yeah, he couldn't just accept one viewpoint. He had to choose his own path.
And that's a key insight, right? It's not just a story. It highlights that financial education, well, mostly happens at home, not in school.
That's a big takeaway. For better or worse, what you learn about money often starts right there.
Which explains why, even people with great academic records can still struggle financially. Schools teach professional skills, sure, but financial intelligence, that's often missing.
Okay, so this leads us to Kiyosaki's, number one rule, the foundation.
Rule number 1, yeah. It sounds incredibly simple.
What is it?
He learned it as a kid. You must know the difference between an asset and a liability and buy assets.
Know the difference and buy assets. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds basic.
Deceptively basic. He insists that even though it seems simple, most adults, even smart ones, they actually miss this. They don't really get it in practice.
Why not? What's the definition he uses?
Rich Dad's definitions were super clear, very direct. An asset puts money in my pocket.
Okay, asset, money in.
A liability takes money out of my pocket.
Liability takes money out of my pocket.
Liability, money out. Got it. It's that straightforward. But the problem, the mistake most people make, is they buy things they think are assets.
Like the house.
Often, yeah. Or cars, or other things. They buy liabilities, things that constantly drain their cash, thinking they're investing.
So they're digging a hole without realizing it.
Pretty much. It's a trap. And Kiyosaki says only financial intelligence helps you see the difference and avoid it.
And he uses cash flow to explain this, right? Like diagrams showing where the money goes?
Exactly. The cash flow pattern tells the whole story. Let's walk through it. First, the poor person, their income, usually a paycheck.
Yep.
It comes in and boom, it goes right back out. Taxes, rent, food, clothes, transportation, basic living expenses. Their liability column, empty. Not because they're debt-free, but because all money goes to immediate needs.
Okay, just covering the essentials. Makes sense. What about the middle class?
The middle class. This is where things get, well, more complicated, and often where the rat race feeling kicks in hard. Income comes in, again, usually a salary. It also goes out to expenses. Taxes, sure, but then mortgage payments, car payments, credit card payments, maybe student loans.
Oh yeah, lots of payments.
And here's the kicker. Their liability column is growing. Mortgage debt, car loans, credit card debt, school loans, all that stuff.
Well, money is constantly flowing out just to pay for these debts they've taken on.
Constantly. Often, more income just means bigger liabilities, bigger payments. It's a treadmill.
Okay, so how do the rich do it differently? What's their cash flow look like?
The rich person's pattern flips the script. Their income doesn't primarily come from a job. It flows in from their assets.
Assets like what?
Things like rental income from real estate, dividends from stocks, interest from bonds or notes, royalties from intellectual property, that kind of stuff.
So the assets are generating the income.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, they still have expenses, taxes, maybe mortgage payments on rental properties, and they might have some liabilities too. But the crucial difference is the income from their assets covers all the expenses and liabilities, and then some, and then some. So the asset column keeps growing, generating even more income. It's a cycle of wealth building, not just paying bills.
Wow. Okay, so the big takeaway is stop buying liabilities you think are assets. Focus on acquiring things that actually put money in your pocket.
That's the core of it. And just earning more money won't fix the problem if your pattern is wrong. You need financial intelligence. It's not just about making money.
It's about keeping it, making it last, and making it work for you.
Bingo. Making your money work hard for you.
Which flows right into his next lesson, right? Lesson 2. Mind your own business.
And the power of legal structures, which is fascinating.
So, mind your own business. What does he mean by that exactly? Is it just like stay focused?
It's more specific. It means focus on building your asset column. That's your real business. Your job pays the bills, maybe, but your business is the assets you own that generate income.
Okay, so distinguish between your profession and your actual wealth-building business.
Precisely. And he tells this great story about Ray Kroc, the McDonald's guy.
Oh, yeah. What's the story?
Kroc was giving a talk to some MBA students, and he asked them, "What business am I in?"
And they all said hamburgers, right? Obvious.
Of course. They probably laughed. But Kroc says, "Nope. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate."
Real estate? How?
He knew the real money, the long-term wealth, wasn't just in selling burgers. It was in the land each franchise sat on, the location.
Ah, so every time someone bought a franchise.
They were essentially buying another prime piece of real estate for Kroc's company. McDonald's became, and still is, one of the biggest real estate owners in the world.
That's brilliant. So Kroc was minding his real business, the assets, the real estate, not just the product.
Exactly. It shows the difference between working in a business and building assets. Kiyosaki argues most people, they work for everyone else.
How so?
Well, you work for your employer, the company owner. You work for the government paying taxes. You work for the bank paying your mortgage or other loans.
Huh. Never thought of it quite like that. You're working hard, but not really for yourself, for your own asset column.
Right. And this is where the rich use something powerful. Corporations.
Yeah.
Legal structures.
Like setting up an LLC or an S-corp, that kind of thing?
Yeah, those types of structures. Historically, corporations started as a way to limit risk for, like, dangerous sea voyages.
Okay.
But today, they offer huge advantages for building wealth. Two big ones. First, tax rates. Corporations often pay taxes at a lower rate than individuals do on high incomes.
Right. I've heard that.
Second, and this is a big one, corporations can pay for certain expenses before taxes are calculated with pre-tax dollars.
What kind of expenses?
Things like company cars, maybe health club dues, even travel if it's for a legitimate business, like, say, a board meeting in Hawaii, all potentially paid for before the tax man takes his cut.
That seems like a massive advantage over earning a salary and paying for everything with after-tax money.
It is. Plus, corporations offer protection. They can shield your personal assets from lawsuits. The corporation owns the assets, you control the corporation. It separates things legally.
So it's about understanding these rules of the game, the legal and tax systems, and using them.
Definitely. It's a key part of financial intelligence, according to Kiyosaki.
Okay, that leads into lesson 3. The rich invent money. What does that mean? Sounds almost magical.
Yeah, it does sound a bit like that. But what he means is that wealth isn't always just found or earned in traditional ways. Sometimes it's created through smarts and, importantly, courage.
Courage.
Yeah, he really emphasizes that. He says in the real world, it's often the bold who get ahead, not just the academically smart. Financial genius needs knowledge, yes, but also the guts to act on it. Fear can hold people back.
Especially in today's world, right? Things change so fast.
Exactly. We're in the information age. Wealth is often in information, in seeing opportunities quickly. Old ideas, sticking to the safe path, can actually be risky now. They can become liabilities.
So how do you invent money then? He gives an example, right?
He does. A really good one from his own experience in the Phoenix real estate market back when it was depressed.
Okay, what happened?
He found a house worth about $75,000, but it was in foreclosure, and he managed to buy it for just $20,000 at auction.
Wow, okay. But where did he get the $20,000?
He didn't have it. He borrowed just the deposit, $2,000 from a friend for 90 days, promised to pay back $2,200. So $200 interest.
Okay, very little money down. Then what?
Then he immediately put an ad in the paper. $75,000 house for sale, only $60,000, no money down.
No money down. That must have gotten attention.
Tons of attention. A buyer snapped it up quickly. Now, the buyer didn't have $60,000 cash. So Kiyosaki created a promissory note, basically an IOU, from the buyer to him for the $60,000 paid over time.
So he didn't get cash up front, but he created an asset.
Exactly. He created a $40,000 asset, $60K sale price, $20K purchase price, ignoring the small loan for now, in his asset column, that promissory note.
Sure.
And that note paid him interest, generating passive income.
Okay, wait. He bought for $20, sold for $60K, creating a $40K note.
Right.
How much actual work was involved?
Get this. She says the total time he spent on that deal was about 5 hours.
5 hours. That's incredible.
And he and his wife did this multiple times. 6 deals like that created over $190,000 in assets. Those notes paying them interest, like $19,000 a year in passive income.
And was that income taxed heavily?
A lot less than you'd think, as it was flowing into their corporation. So they could use pre-tax dollars for business expenses, legally sheltering a good chunk of it.
So that's inventing money, seeing an opportunity others missed, using OPM, other people's money, creatively and structuring it smartly.
Right. It boils down to key skills. Finding opportunities, seeing with your mind, he calls it, raising capital creatively, and organizing smart people, hiring experts when you need them.
And he ties this back to 4 technical skills for financial IQ.
Yeah. Accounting, understanding the numbers. Investing, making money, make money. Understanding market supply, demand, psychology. And the law tax advantages, corporate protection.
That's a solid framework. But okay, even if someone learns all this, you mentioned roadblocks, lesson 4, right? Overcoming obstacles.
Yep. Even if you're financially literate, Kiyosaki says 5 things often stop people. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Let's take fear first. Fear of losing money. That's huge for most people.
Totally normal. Even rich people feel it. The difference is how they handle it. Kiyosaki says winning means being unafraid to lose.
That sounds risky, though.
He frames it differently. Losing isn't the end, it's feedback. It inspires winners to get better, learn more. Think about learning to ride a bike. You fall, you get up. Golfers lose balls, they practice more. Failure is part of the process for winners. It defeats losers.
Okay, so reframe failure as learning. What about cynicism?
The chicken little, he calls them. The people always saying the sky is falling, doom and gloom everywhere.
We all know people like that.
Right? Their doubt and fear are contagious. But smart investors often find their best deals when everyone else is panicking and being cynical. Kiyosaki tells a story about a friend who backed out of a great deal because his neighbor who knew nothing about investing filled his head with doubt.
And it cost him.
Big time. The deal would have made good money. The lesson. Cynics criticize, winners analyze. Don't let fear-mongering paralyze you.
Okay, fear, cynicism. What about laziness? I assume he doesn't just mean being couch potatoes.
No, it's often more subtle, like being too busy to manage your finances or avoiding learning new things or putting off important decisions. It's financial inaction.
And the antidote.
Often it's building good habits. And one he really stresses is pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, before bills.
That was Rich Dad's way, even if money was tight. The idea is if you pay yourself first, meaning put money into your asset column, the pressure from creditors, the need to pay those bills, motivates you.
How?
It forces you to find new ways to generate income, to get smarter, to solve the problem. If you pay bills first and only save what's left, there's often nothing left and no pressure to grow. Paying yourself first builds financial muscle, he argues.
Interesting. Creates internal pressure to perform.
Okay, two left. Bad habits and arrogance. Bad habits are often linked to paying yourself last, spending unwisely. Arrogance, though, is dangerous. Kiyosaki says arrogance is often just ignorance disguised. People who think they know everything stop learning.
And learning are key.
Absolutely critical. What I know makes me money. What I don't know loses me money. Be humble, keep learning, listen to different viewpoints, even opposing ones. Understand both the bull case and the bear case for any investment.
That ties into another point he makes. Work to learn, don't just work for money.
Yes, especially early in your career. Look for jobs that teach you valuable skills, particularly broad skills like sales, marketing, communication, negotiation. Overspecialization can be a trap.
He tells a story about a writer.
Yeah, a brilliant writer who refused to learn sales or marketing. She wanted to be a best writing author, but because she wouldn't learn the business side, she never became a best-selling author. Knowing a little about a lot can be more powerful than knowing a lot about only one niche thing.
Diversify your skills, not just your portfolio.
You got it. He also briefly mentions his cash flow quadrant idea here.
Right, ESBI.
Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. Just highlighting that the B&I quadrants, business owner, investor, are where you get leverage and potentially faster financial freedom because you're building systems or making money work for you, not just trading time for dollars. Yeah. Different skills needed there.
And finally, there was one more principle. Giving.
Yeah, the power of giving. Rich Dad believed you have to give first to receive. Give time, money, knowledge. Like the big foundations, Rockefeller, Ford, they gave massively. And that principle of giving, of circulating wealth, ultimately brought more back. Be generous.
Okay, so pulling it all together, the core message really isn't about just getting a high-paying job.
Not primarily, no. It's about financial intelligence.
Okay.
It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, how long you keep it, and how hard you make that money work for you.
It's a whole mindset shift, isn't it? Away from just work hard, save money.
Completely. It's about understanding assets versus liabilities, mastering cash flow, using leverage smartly, using legal structures. It's playing a different game.
And you mentioned earlier, this is maybe more important now than ever with the information age.
I think so. Change is so rapid. Wealth creation is accelerating for those who understand these principles, who can adapt and see opportunities in information and new technologies.
While those stuck in old ways of thinking, playing it too safe, they might get left behind.
That's the risk Kiyosaki highlights.
Yeah.
The gap could widen. For the financially literate, the future holds immense opportunity.
It really comes down to continuous learning, doesn't it? Being proactive about your financial education.
Absolutely. And maybe the thought to leave everyone with is that quote from Kiyosaki. It's what is in your head that determines what is in your hands.
Powerful. It puts the responsibility and the potential right back on us. What are we choosing to learn? What financial genius are we cultivating in our own minds?
Exactly. It's a choice we make every day.
Well, definitely a lot to think about there. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep building that financial IQ. It seems like the journey to financial freedom is really about continuous education and taking action.
Couldn't agree more.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.